For most of us, when we travel or go on vacation, the last thing we want to experience are ghosts or any sort of paranormal activity. Hauntings are a peculiar phenomenon, and while they can happen anytime and anywhere, they're most often found in buildings that have a long history of sadness, violence, and murder. These are the top 5 most haunted hotels and inns from around the world. Number 5. Banff Springs Hotel. Dubbed as the Castle in the Rockies, the Banff Springs Hotel has hosted celebrities like Marilyn Monroe and royalty like Queen Elizabeth. While its luxurious rooms and stunning sweeping views of Alberta, Canada are often praised, the structure has also become known for something else: its resident ghosts. Built in the 19th century, it first opened its doors on June 1st, 1888. It was a success as rich European adventurers loved the idea of living in luxury while staying in the middle of the wilderness. Over time, so many guests have come and gone, but there are some who apparently never left. Even though the hotel officially denies all of them, the ghost stories at the Banff remain rampant. One of them is of the mysterious non-existent room 873 located on the 8th floor. Legend has it that a man, his wife, and daughter once checked into the room, and shortly after, the husband murdered his family before killing himself. Those who have stayed in the room after the murders would often hear violent screaming in the middle of the night, and the chambermaids would report there were bloody prints on the mirror that wouldn't come off, but then mysteriously would disappear. With so many complaints, the hotel decided to seal it off completely, but the ghosts are believed to still remain in the area. Another famous ghostly resident is a former bellman of the hotel named Sam McCauley. He worked at the hotel during the 70s and often said before he passed away that he would always stay in the hotel. Today, reports of phantom lights and elevators opening and closing without anyone there are often reported and attributed to Sam. Some guests have even mentioned receiving help from an elderly bellman in an outdated uniform. The most famous haunting, however, at the hotel is that of the doomed bride. As the story goes, a young couple renting the bridal suite was to be married at the Banff with the reception in the Cascade Ballroom. However, before the wedding started, the bride was climbing up the marble staircase to join her husband when her dress caught on fire from one of the torches lining the stairwell. In a panic to put out the fire, she tripped on her dress and fell off the stairs, breaking her neck and dying. To this day, guests report they sometimes see the bride dancing in the Cascade Ballroom, or even walking up the marble stairs. Others report hearing unusual noises inside the bridal suite, even when no one's inside. The Banff Springs Hotel continues to entertain guests to this day. It not only offers gorgeous Rocky Mountain views, but quite possibly a ghost experience as well. Number 4. The Skirrid Inn. Claiming to be one of the oldest pubs in Wales, the Skirrid Inn has stood its ground for over 900 years. While some people think it's an exaggeration, and most likely the current building is a 17th century construction, the spot is known as a pilgrim's trail, and most likely before even the current building was created, an older inn had occupied the same spot for years before. Regardless of the specifics, there's one thing that locals and those who have visited agree on. The Skirrid Inn is one of the most haunted inns that exists. The inn stands right in the shadows of its mountain namesake. History records show its first floor was once used as a courtroom, and those sentenced for serious crimes and offenses were hanged on a wooden beam by the staircase just outside the main room. If you look closely on the wooden beam today, you can still make out markings from the rope. The holding cell is now a storeroom, and aside from being a courthouse, the spot also became a rallying point for those involved in the Welsh Revolt, and supposedly became a courtroom for the notorious Judge Jeffreys during the rebellion. With its vast history, it's no surprise that the inn and those who stay there report having otherworldly guests among them. One prominent ghost said to haunt the grounds is that of Judge Jeffreys himself. He's been seen roaming the halls looking for people to condemn, while John Crowther, a convicted felon who was hanged on the property, also shows up from time to time. Other ghosts include that of Father Henry Vaughn and Fanny Price, a local woman who worked in the inn but died of consumption. Her spirit often makes its presence known in room 3. The owners and guests have experienced objects disappearing, glasses flying from the room, waking up due to extreme drops in temperature, and mysterious faces appearing from the windows. Today, the inn still serves ale and a hearty meal to its visitors. Paranormal researchers and ghost hunters frequent the spot, hoping for a ghostly encounter. If you're brave enough yourself to visit, perhaps you can have one too. Number 3. Akasaka Weekly Mansion. Despite being a modern building, the Akasaka Weekly Mansion is one of the most famous haunted buildings in Japan today. Paranormal experts can't pinpoint any history as to why the hotel would be haunted, but guests have reported so many paranormal incidents on the premises that it's hard to ignore. Building 1 of the hotel is especially active and is said to have had multiple suicides, which could be the reason why restless spirits lurk the building. Guests have reported various encounters while staying at the hotel. They've seen entities standing at the foot of their beds, as well as mists in the hallway that disappear into the vents. There are even reports of a woman crawling around the room, which is a Japanese classic it seems. There are also visitors who felt unseen hands touching them while asleep. Some of the touches were simple swipes of the hair, while others were of a more sexual nature. Men felt soft, gentle hands holding theirs, while women would feel rough, manly hands. One woman has even said she was dragged out of her bed by her hair from an unknown apparition. Renamed today as Hotel Mistei's Akasaka, the property still hosts plenty of guests and features good ratings on traveler review sites. While it's not guaranteed that a stay there will include a haunting experience, if you book a night there, it seems like a good possibility you'll have one. Number 2. The Stanley Hotel. Opening its doors in 1909, the Stanley Hotel has been functioning for over a century. While it was a prominent and revolutionary hotel during its era, in modern times it's more well known for being the real-life Overlook Hotel from Stephen King's The Shining. King himself cites the hotel as the main inspiration for his horror masterpiece. The hotel was built by inventor Freeland Oscar Stanley, which he ran together with his wife Flora. After falling in love with Estes Park and attributing his recovery from tuberculosis while staying there, he vowed to create a luxurious resort in the area. Eventually, he began building the property in 1907, and by 1909 it was ready to welcome visitors. Stanley not only transformed Estes Park and the nearby towns, but he also helped create Rocky Mountain National Park. But it was the Stanley Hotel that would be his lasting legacy. Over the years, the Stanley has switched owners, and stories of hauntings began to mount. One prominent tale is that of the Stanley explosion in room 217. On an evening in 1911, a huge thunderstorm knocked out power to the hotel. So a chambermaid by the name of Elizabeth Wilson entered room 217 to light up the gas lamps, but what she didn't know was that leaked gas had already filled the room. The moment she entered with the lamp, it set off a huge explosion, and while she survived, she broke both of her ankles and suffered severe burns. Paranormal believers say the explosion triggered some sort of spark that has led to the numerous hauntings found in the hotel ever since. Incidentally, room 217 is the same room where Stephen King and his wife stayed in when they visited. Ever since then, the hotel has had several ghostly apparitions reported by guests. This includes the ghost of Freeland himself and his wife. Stanley is said to appear at the bar and sometimes at the reception desk, while his wife can be heard playing the ancient Steinway piano that is still in the hotel. Over the years, people have also said they've seen the original owner of the land, the 4th Earl of Dunraven, in room 407. The smell of tobacco would linger, and he can sometimes be seen standing off in the corner. The entire 4th floor is said to be filled with the laughter of children running around the hallways. Room 418 is where they manifest, and some guests and workers have said that indentations sometimes appear on the bed even when no one has used the room. In one instance, a person said that during the Stanley's official ghost hunt tour, a tour guide inside room 418 shuddered and said that one of the children was hugging her leg at that instant. Finally, perhaps the most disturbing story is that of the ghost of Lucy. She lurks in the concert hall and can be heard humming melodies. A guest during a tour was exploring the concert hall basement and managed to snap a photo of what looked like a little girl in pink steadily looking back at them. It's said to be that of Lucy, who is actually a small runaway girl who had hid herself in the hotel's basement, where she eventually died. Today, the Stanley Hotel remains one of the most iconic haunted places in the world. Not only does it have a prominent place in the horror culture, but it is also considered to be a truly haunted place. Number 1. Ancient Ram Inn. Haunted by more than 20 ghosts, the Ancient Ram Inn is said to be one of the most haunted places in all of Britain. The inn has changed ownership several times since it was first built in 1145, but the stories always remain the same. Within its walls there are said to be ghosts, a long history of murder, satanic sacrifices, and even a demonic incubus that lives in one of the rooms. Paranormal researchers, as well as the current owner of the building, have looked into its history and discovered that there could be more than one reason why the structure is so haunted. For instance, the building is built on top of an ancient burial ground. Satanic rituals and even human sacrifices occurred in the area, and on top of that, the building lies at an intersection of a ley line that stretches all the way to Stonehenge. For the unfamiliar, a ley line is an apparent alignment of unique and significant man-made structures. Proposed by Alfred Watkins, these invisible straight lines run straight across important ancient structures all around the world. In fact, the pyramids of Giza, Pumapunku, Easter Island, Angkor Wat, and more are said to be built at intersections of these ley lines. The Ancient Ram Inn is also supposedly in the middle of such an intersection, hence its increased spectral energy and activity. When you enter, the first room that greets you is the men's kitchen. Current owner John Humphreys first used this as his bedroom. When they moved in on the first night, he was yanked out of bed by an unseen entity. Cries of a baby are said to emanate from the room as well. As to why, that was answered when ghost hunters, along with Humphrey's permission, excavated a portion of the floor hoping to find a cellar. Instead, they discovered a gravesite containing a woman and a baby's remains. Alongside the bones were broken iron shards, which when examined by the Bristol Museum indicated they most likely were used in a ritual sacrifice. The next room is the Mayflower Barn, where one member of a film crew was thrown to the floor, then beaten and kicked by an unseen force. Perhaps this could be a fabricated story, however this wasn't the first time it happened. Another 18-year-old visitor had a similar experience during his visit, while another father and son had to run away scared after seeing an ominous entity rising from the floor. The witch's room is where a woman who fled a witch trial had stayed in. She remained hidden in the ancient ram until she was eventually captured and killed. She is said to haunt the same room, particularly appearing by the bedside of anyone who is foolish enough to sleep there. But the bishop's room is said to be the most haunted room of them all. Those who didn't know they were sleeping in the bishop's room have inexplicably run out of there in the middle of the night because they were so terrified. Some of the apparitions seen include spectral monks, mounted centurions, a shepherd dog, and a woman hanging from the rafters. Also, the screams of a man whose head was once burned in the fireplace can sometimes be heard. Additionally, a supposed succubus and incubus haunt the place, climbing alongside those who sleep in the bed. Finally, there's the Weaver's Attic, where the innkeeper's daughter named Elizabeth was killed in the room during the 1500s. Those who have slept in the bishop's room directly below it have often heard of something heavy being dragged on the floors above their heads. Those who have visited the ancient Ram Inn often left frightened at what they experienced. Today, on occasion, there are tours, but it's no longer an inn or B&B that you can stay at. so those were the top 5 most haunted hotels and inns from around the world. For travelers, hotels and inns are their homes away from home. But like any building, they too come with their own stories, and sometimes much more than that. If you liked this video, then please remember to subscribe to our channel, and every Sunday we'll bring you a new scary mystery to enjoy. Thanks to everyone for the continuous support and comments. I'll see you all next week.